guys, thanks so much for clicking on the video. My name is Leah, and let's recap and review Love After Lockup. I think this is, we know it's season 5, but I'm not sure which episode. Maybe 37, 38, maybe even 39. But either way, it'll be correct in the title card below. But let's get into with Bianca and Daniel. So we find out it's about to be a month before Daniel gets released from prison, and she has finally like touched down in Arizona. We got this one scene of her like crying or feeling overwhelmed as she's walking to her new apartment. And I think reality is starting to set in that, like, girl, you uprooted yourself from Florida, which is on one side of the country, to the other side of the country, where she doesn't have any friends, she doesn't have any family over there. And all she keeps saying is like, I just want to see Daniel. And I'm just kind of looking at her like, what did you expect that like you get over there a month in advance before he gets out, that he was just gonna come out because you was over there? So she gets to the apartment. I was actually surprised that she was surprised by the furniture, but then we find out that she got the apartment furnished, that's a no for me. That's a no for me. Like, college apartments where they were already furnished already like ruined my idea of like apartments in general, whether they're not college apartments or just regular apartments being furnished. I don't want none of that furniture. I've seen what that furniture has been through. I've seen how it comes to you. Okay. Don't want none of that furniture. So she's like in the den area, like making a poster for him, getting agitated because it doesn't look the way she wants. I agree. I get agitated. That's why when I buy posters, I buy like 3 or 4 of them because I'm quick to rip up a poster if I think it's ugly. So she's just waiting for Daniel. And then we end up seeing her get a call from him. And he's talking about how like reality hasn't set in, that he's about to get out in a month. But he's excited to see her. She's excited to, be intimate with him. And then she gets on the phone and Daniel like lets us know, I think in the confessional, that he is really adamant about not going to the halfway house. And if I was her, I would take that as a red flag. Because I do know a couple of people that have been on Love After Lockup or Love During Lockup, whatever, have always said that like drugs are pretty much readily accessible in the halfway house. Like, people know how to sneak contraband into the house, but also they give you other resources there, like a counselor, like somebody who's going to help you maneuver life after being locked up. And him being so hard pressed to be like, I'm not going there, would irritate me, because I'd be like, why? Like, she's not asking the questions that I would ask, like, why don't you want to go? And don't give me no BS answer about like, I want my freedom. No, why don't you want to go? Like, that just doesn't make sense to me, because if you don't go, you are potentially going to get locked back up because they have curfews. You might violate probation. Like, he's already, to me, showing you that he's not going to do right. So she's also telling him how she's kind of nervous to meet his family. She's supposed to meet like his cousin, his mom, and his dad. And she's really upset about the dad asking her, like, is she mentally stable? Like, she's really offended by that. But I'm like, girl, you don't seem mentally stable. Okay, so I saw the trailer for Life After Lockup. I think that's what it's called. And girl, the way that, so Bianca and Daniel are going to be on that series, and the way she is like trying to get this man to like marry her and have a baby and everything, and I'm like, he just got out of prison, you're not mentally stable. And then when you meet the parents, and let's talk about her meeting the parents, so she's still upset and she's hoping that the dad like apologizes to her because she doesn't like the fact that he asked her that question. So we actually see the cousin, the mom, and the dad we find out that the dad is a recovering alcoholic. He's only been sober for 5 months. So the spirit of addiction is on Daniel and his family, because then the mom ends up trauma dumping on Bianca after Bianca basically says she's not going to give up drinking, because she's sitting at the bar, which I'm like, if the dad is just 5 months sober, why don't we just sit at like one of the tables? Because they were in a restaurant where there were tables, and I was like, why don't you just sit there? Like, I feel like for some people, even being at the bar might trigger them to like want to drink. So Daniel's mom is like, well, I stopped drinking because of him. You know, he's a lot better now that he has been sober. We end up finding out that, unfortunately, her middle child, so Daniel's youngest brother or maybe older brother, but it seems like it would be his youngest brother, passed away from a fentanyl overdose. And so Bianca is just like, oh. And then the mom gets emotional because it's really hard for her. And she is just like pleading to Bianca, like, girl, you can't drink around my child. You can't, because that might trigger him to go back. Then the cousin is like, you're going to have to make concessions and compromise for him if you want to be with him. And she's just kind of like, well, I told Daniel maybe I might want to drink, out with my friends. I wouldn't drink in front of him. And I'm like, this is why your 23-year-old ass doesn't need to be with him. And that's why the dad asked, are you mentally stable? Because if you still want to live that life, which I don't think there's nothing wrong with her wanting to go party and have fun with her friends, but then don't attach yourself to a man that is a recovering alcoholic and a drug addict who said on camera he's relapsed several times while he was in prison. Like, it's not giving mentally stable. It's giving that Bianca is running from her problems. She needs to actually go to therapy herself and possibly rehab, because she given alcoholic herself. Because I'm like, girl, even when I was 23, it was not that hard for me to be like, I don't feel like drinking this week. But she act like she need to drink every day. Like, it's giving alcoholic. It's definitely given that. And I felt bad for the mom, but I was like, and I kind of thought it was a bit much for her to trauma dump on Bianca, but I was like, it was needed, because Bianca acting like she knows what's going on. She was like, I think I understand addiction. You don't. You really don't. You don't. So then the cousin ends up saying like, oh, I think you guys will be great together. So then Bianca was like, if you think we would be great together, why did you tell Daniel not to marry me? And then their segment ends. So I guess we'll see what happens after that. But I'm not gonna lie, on the trailer for Life After Lockup, it looked like Bianca and the cousin might have something going on, because they was in that trailer drinking together, and she was like, F it. And he was looking at her, giving her the eyes, and I said, girl. Talk about Leticia and Keith. I'm gonna be honest, y'all. I feel like Leticia played the production team, because it's starting more to feel like she knew Keith wasn't going to get out, and this is just a storyline. And the reason why I say that is, like, maybe back in August, I saw this post that Leticia posted, posted, and OMFG reposted it, of her going to Keith's graduation. So I guess he completed some type of program in prison. And I was just kind of like, doesn't that mean they knew he wasn't getting out? Because I'm like, do people come back? Like, so I'm thinking, I'm like, like college. I'm like, okay, like if he gets free, does he come back so he can graduate? Or is the program only available if you're going to graduate in prison? I don't know. But I was just kind of like, if he's in a program, I think he probably knew he wasn't getting out. Like, something about her story just doesn't seem right to me. It also feels like she needs the money, because she got that $31,000 tax lien on her. And then also she looking at possible fraud charges, and she might be going to jail. So I really think Leticia is hurting for money, especially when you look at her hair. Girl. I don't know. I feel like you playing in our face, Leticia. So we actually see Leticia go to a well-known attorney in her, her part of town, which I'm also like, if you knew Arthur, the attorney, why did you go to Ben, the criminal paralegal? Like, that doesn't make sense to me. So she pulls up to Ben's office. We actually see a receptionist. So we know this business is legit, because every time Leticia goes somewhere, it's looking like they renting hotel office spaces. But she pulls up, she talks to the receptionist. They, let her in to go see Arthur. So she sits down with Arthur, and Arthur is like, so why you here? He's sitting real perched, like, why you here? So pretty much what we find out is that the public defendant is not on the case. She explains to Arthur about how they, employed a paralegal who explained to them that her husband was eligible for release. Ben is like, not Ben, Arthur is like, what paralegal? Like, what kind of paralegal? Like, let me guess, he just got out of prison. And she was like, yeah, we just found out that he had like a record. And then the attorney is like, yeah, that's pretty common. Like, some people will go read a few little books while they in prison, and then act like they a paralegal, like, they are an attorney or somebody worth, getting legal advice from. So she gives him this folder that I guess of paperwork that Ben, the paralegal, has been like turning in for her. She also explains to him that the public defender like put in to be put off the case, and the attorney was like, that's probably because he was tired of Ben. And Ben was doing too much. And I knew if this information that was going to be given to Leticia wasn't going to be good, because the moment that Arthur, the attorney, pulled out that pen and got to like marking up that piece of paper, and he was like, he underlined it like a teacher. He was like, honestly, there's nothing in here that tells you he's eligible for a release. Nothing. All this is saying is that they might have done something wrong with like his paperwork or something like that, but it does not say he's eligible for release. And honestly, your husband is about to get out in 8 months. This new law wouldn't pertain to him. It would pertain to the people after him. So Leticia's just sitting there looking dumbfounded while Arthur's just looking at her like, girl. And so she thanks him and then she leaves. She's in the confessional like crying because she's frustrated and upset because she was like, I can't get back my time, my feelings, and my emotions. We told everybody he was getting out. Had I not known that like it wasn't going to happen, I wouldn't have told everybody. And I'm like, you shouldn't have told everybody in the beginning. Like, and the one that's going to be the most heartbroken is that little girl who's like, I want my daddy to come home. I know the oldest daughter is like, girl, I'm sick of this. So she gets on the phone as she's driving home and tells Keith about, he's not getting out. And he kind of seems distraught, but he also seems like he knows what's going on. So that's also why I feel like this is a ploy. Like, y'all playing in our faces. So, excuse me, she gets home. She's like irritated. You see Keith's aunt and the little girl sitting on the couch, and she's like, hey, I'm gonna go upstairs and change. Meet me upstairs or something like that. So the aunt is like, okay, I'll be up there in a minute. So we see her change. And so she tells the aunt, girl, he not getting out. And even the aunt's reaction was like, dang. But it wasn't like, are you serious? It was just like, for real? Like, I feel like y'all played in our faces. And so the aunt is like, I don't want to be the bearer of more bad news, girl, but that pink slip that was given to you, I did some digging, because I was under the impression that maybe the pink slip was from the like jail telling her, but no, it looks like it's from it did say from the sheriff's, but it looks like it's like an eviction like type thing, because we find out that after the aunt said she called the numbers or got in contact with people, that the house that Leticia and her daughters are living in is getting foreclosed on, because the person that owns the house that Leticia has been paying rent to has not been paying the mortgage. So Leticia looked like she about to have a meltdown. She's just like, are you serious? Like, she trying not to cry. Like, she trying to hold it in because she just keep looking like, she like, what am I about to do? And I say, damn. And on this regard, like, this is not her fault. Like, if she's fat, like, because she even said, why would you have me sign, like, a lease and everything, and I pay you the money and you not paying the mortgage? And that's not, like, that's legit not her fault. If she is renting the home and she's paying the person that owns the home and they're not paying the mortgage, then there's nothing she could do about it. And I was like, damn. And then the aunt basically told her that, like, they giving her like 2 months for her and her kids to leave. And I said, where they gonna go? Where they gonna go? First of all, like, let's talk about True and Shante. Let's talk about, because why did that man have on 2 watches? I was confused. Like, I legit, like, I had to rewind the episode because I was like, why does he have on 2? Like, because I saw it and I said, maybe I'm seeing it wrong. I said, no, this man got on 2 watches. I said, for what? For what? You gonna, like, it just don't make sense. So he in the car, he just drove 5 hours to where Shante is because he wants to see her. Since the last episode, she told him she having twins. He in the car saying, twins. I kind of always wanted twins. I said, oh God, okay. So he ends up pulling up to Walmart because he wants to cook for Shante. He said, I'm going to cook for her. I want to get my girl back. And then I forgot that that's how initially True and Shantae's relationship was presented to us on watching Love During Lockup, where he was in the culinary arts program while he was in prison. And, they were supposed to be opening up this restaurant together and having this like bake off, and because she wants to be a cook as well. And I was just like, Now you want to do these things with her? And he was like, we didn't get to do it. And I said, no, y'all didn't get to do it because like every day you were leaving her at the Airbnb to go be shiesty with your sister. Like, if you really wanted to do those things, you could have just stayed in the house for a few hours and did those things. So it's not, I don't know. So he pulled up to Walmart, scared this one white lady because he was like, excuse me, what kind of eggs are there? What kind of eggs? And she looked at him. She took off her glasses and was like, and then she helped him because basically he was trying to figure out what type of eggs to buy. And I was confused by that. I didn't know if he thought eggs were different or if he was trying to figure out what brand was better. But she, said, oh, this one, I buy this brand, and make sure you check to make sure they're not cracked. Always remember that. So then he pulls up to like the self-checkout, and he was struggling because he didn't know how to do it. He was even moving the stuff real slow. And one of the Walmart workers came and like helped him and everything, and he put in the cash, and they end up asking him in the confessional, like, where you getting your money from? And I was expecting him to say he had a job or something. No, this man gonna say, oh, I'm gambling. He get his money from the casino. I said, girl, that's not a plan, sir. That is not a plan. I said, so what are you gonna do when you lose big? Gosh. And Shante, this who you want to be pregnant by? So, they asked him how much money has he made, and he's like, I'm not at liberty to say, which makes me feel like he ain't made no real money for real. And if he has, he probably done spent it all going back to the thing. I said, this man might have a gambling problem. So we see him pull up to Shantae's house, and Shante opens up the door, but she only opens up like her main door, but keeps her screen door locked. And he's like, hey, you not gonna let me in? And she like, what you want, True? And I'm like, Shante, stop trying to act like you so bothered about he came to see you. You wanted him to come see you. And so she's like, what you want, True? And he's like, you not gonna open the door? You not gonna let me in? And so she ends up letting him in. Mind you, y'all, the inside of Shantae's house was confusing to me. I'm not gonna lie. And the dog, she got a cute little dog, but the dog looked confused too that True was there. Kind of looking, I kept looking at him like, this is who you pregnant by, girl? But her house, it was like the bricks in her house I was confused by, because the only time I've seen that is when I've seen it inside of city apartments. Like, I've been to like lofts and they have the whole brick thing, like they keep that whole industrial feel. I haven't ever seen it like in an actual like house before. So I was just like, girl, this different. It's different. So Shantae's like, True, what you want? They keep zooming in on her stomach, but honestly, no offense to her, she just looked like she bloated or fat. It don't look like an actual like rounded out belly like that she's pregnant, but they said she only 14 weeks, and 14 weeks I think is only 4 months. So, so we see her and True in the kitchen together. He trying to make like omelets for her because that's supposed to be like his signature dish. So he wants to make steak omelets. He talking about, I want to get you back. Like, I went and saw that the grass ain't greener on the other side, and I just want to work. I'm better when I'm with you. And she's like, see, that bothers me because I haven't been with anybody else. And he's like, well, I need to tell you the truth or we gonna move forward. And I was like, girl, okay, move forward. So while they in the kitchen, he ended up grabbing the wrong seasoning to make the omelets. And she was like, you don't use this, you use this one. He said, see, since you did that, I'm going to show you how everything I touch, turns to gold. I said, shut up. So she's sitting on the wall, just watching him cook, real happy that he there. She trying so hard not to like smile about it. Then we see her sitting in the den, like picking like these flowers. I don't know if he gave her flowers or she already had flowers, being like, he loves me not, he loves me. I said, Shante, what the are you doing? This is what are we doing? I was like, is she really sitting here being like, he loves me not, he loves me. I was like, Shante, get out. What is wrong with you? So they end up eating. It's not that good. She was like, this is supposed to be your signature dish? And he was like, yeah. And she's like, well, you're not going to cook this no more. They end up having a good laugh. She ends up saying in her confessional that like she wants True to respect her because she believes like if someone respects you, then they won't lie to you. They won't cheat on you. They won't do you wrong. And she feels like True doesn't respect her. So she ends up saying that he can stay, but he can't sleep in the bed with her. He can sleep on the couch. And he kind of make this face like, Because he knows when them cameras leave, he getting in that bed to do things to her. And she gonna be cool with it. So Shante needs to stop playing with us. Stop playing with us. You happy that that man came running after you because that's what you really wanted. Because while you were with him in that Airbnb, you felt unwanted. And the fact that he pulled up on you, now you feel wanted. So let's stop playing these games. Zariah and Troy. She irritated me the most throughout this episode. So they're all supposed to be preparing to get on the train to go to Buffalo. And they're all packed and everything. And as they're packed, you can tell that Zariah has an attitude. You could also tell that Troy is trying his best to like smooth everything over. So he's asking his mom like, "Hey, are you okay, Mom? You good?" And she's like, "Troy, stop asking me if I'm good because you're about to piss me off." Then he goes and asks Zariah. She's in the in the bathroom with a glob of jam on the back of her head and just brushing it up so she could put in that ponytail that does not match her hair texture that she needs to give up and throw away. Give it up and throw it away. So she got an attitude. And you can tell that Karen is like, what's the issue? And as Zariah's in the bathroom putting up on her makeup, she's irritated because she don't want to go to Buffalo because she doesn't want to have a run-in with Troy's baby mama. And Troy is like, this has nothing to do with my baby mama. I called her, I told her don't be on no type of ish. This is about me meeting my daughter, no BS. And so all Zariah can think about is what happened when she went and met the psychic about how their relationship's not going to last and that his baby mama has very strong feelings about Troy and doesn't really see the value in their marriage because she believes that Troy's going to come back to her. So Zariah just got this attitude, real nasty attitude. And you can tell that Karen is getting irritated with Zariah because Zariah keeps yelling at Troy. She's like, I don't even like Troy. Troy's like, hey, what else do you need to pack so we can get on and get up out of here? She's like, I don't know, Troy. I might not even go. So Karen is like, what's the issue? This has nothing to do with Yana. I think that's the baby mama's name. This has everything to do with Troy getting completing our family with his daughter. Like, she not gonna be a part of this like that. And so she's like, I don't care. You can pack up your shit and you could go. And so Karen is looking at her being like, you don't need to kick him. Like don't kick my son. Because she was basically like, it felt like Zariah was trying to kick Troy out the house. And Karen was like, you can't just kick him out the house. Like, this is his house too. And Zariah was like, his name ain't on no bill, no nothing. This is my house. And I said, see, Troy, that should let you know you need to leave. Because I have done that. I've done that like a couple of times where I'd be like, I will kick you out this house. This is my place. This is my establishment. You could get to go and your name on nobody's lease, no nothing, which I have the right to. But I've normally done that to people that I'm getting tired of and don't want to be around no more. So I'm just like, if she's so quick to tell you that, then you might need to leave. Like, you might need to start forging your own place. But the bad thing about it is that he's paroled there. So she, like, that's where he has to be. So then Zariah goes into her bedroom and slams and shuts the door. So then Karen is like, let me go talk to her. Let me go talk to her. So Karen walks into the room and is trying to be like, Zariah, this ain't got nothing to do with Yanni. This is everything to do with Troy and his daughter. Like, girl, it's not like it's not what you think it is. And what's it called? Zariah's whole thing is she feels like Troy is not being honest about his relationship with Yanni. She feels like they be having little side conversations, like, because she was like, you only talk to me, like, you talk to me a little bit in front of me, and then you go into another room and start talking to her more. And I'm like, girl, he's only been out for 4 days. Like, and your house is so small and them walls are so paper thin, you can hear what everybody says. You keep saying that you can hear what everybody says. So what are we talking about? What are we talking about? Zahira or whatever, Zuri, whatever her name is. And so Troy is just over it. Troy was like, I told her this ain't got nothing to do with my baby mama. I told her that I talked to my baby mama about what type of time I'm going to be on. This is about me going to see my daughter. And then she just going to kick me out. I'm playing in her world. So Troy leaves. The cue card said he was walking, like he walked for 6 miles. I said, do it. What? 6 miles? Where was you going? And so you then see Karen screaming out the house, Troy, like, where is Troy? And they can't find Troy because Troy is heated. He irritated and he heated, and he's just like, I just got out 4 days ago and it's too much. Like, it's her world. I got to do whatever she says, and she's not listening to me. So then you finally see Zahira or whatever, Zariah, whatever her name is, put on her outfit, and she's like, we got to go find Troy. You know, my parents told me never to chase after a man. When you decided to marry somebody in prison, you already solidified you chasing after him. Because what are we talking about? Because you have to initiate the conversation. So she ends up like getting in the car with Karen, because Karen is just like, we can't find Troy. So they actually drive to the train station because they thought that's where he would be, but he's not there. They end up, while they in the car, Karen ends up calling Yanni, being like, girl, I don't know where he is. Has Troy contacted you? Is Troy okay? Like, what's going on? Like, have you been in contact with my son? Because I'm ready to get out of Syracuse, but I'm not about to go to Buffalo and they ain't found my son yet. And I guess Yanni was like, no, he ain't called me on the phone. So she's like, okay. So production ends up stopping Troy at some point, and that's where we get on the cue card that he's been walking for like 6 miles. And Troy's like, I ain't done nothing. I'm not doing anything. And the production team is like, well, why don't you tell her that? He's like, I have told her that. She don't listen. And he's like, all I want is peace. That's all I want is peace. That's just what I want. It's peace. Just give me my peace. Give me my freedom. And so he's like, I'm sick of it. He was like, it's her way or the highway. And I've only been out for 4 months. So they finally get back to the, what's it called? Zahira's place or whatever. And, you know, Karen looking out the window, but she on the phone with Yanni, basically telling all their business, because she ends up telling production that like it's more to this, where it seems like Z or Zariah, whatever her name is, might be cheating on Troy or something done happened, because she was like, and then they was arguing this morning about some man being over here having an affair, and she telling all of this to the ex-girlfriend. All of this to the ex-girlfriend. And Zahira is like, I'm about to flip out. Like, I'm over it. But then she's also saying that she doesn't want to be the reason why Troy doesn't go see his child. And I'm like, well, you're actually actively making, like, you won't be the reason, but you might be part of the reason. Because if he wants to go see his child, he should get on that train and go see his child, despite however you feel, because your feelings don't matter. That child's feelings matter, because that's her daddy at the end of the day. But you look pathetic. Like, she looks so pathetic this episode, because I'm like, why are you behaving this way? But I guess there's more tea with the baby mama, because she's like, if he doesn't come, then the narrative that's already out there is going to continue, and I don't want to be a part of that. So I'm guessing there's this narrative that she is keeping Troy away from his child, or that their relationship isn't real. But who knows? Next thing you know, Karen is like, you know what? I'm gonna go knock on the door and see what we could do. I'm like, so you then see Karen knock on the door. Why does Karen not have on a shirt no more? She was walking around with this black shirt. The next thing you know, she's like, Zariah, like hitting on the door, and then her shirt is open and all you see is titty meat. I said, what is this red lace bra, ma'am? So from Miss Karen, I guess she popped 4 gummies that day and got hot the same way she got hot at church. It was a mess. It was such a, this is shenanigans. So we don't know where Troy is, but we hoping that he get found so they can go see his daughter. So let's talk about Hope and Arthur. And when I tell you, this part of the episode, like, their segment made me feel bad. It made me feel so bad for Arthur. And I actually felt bad for Hope. I feel like a lot of people they giving Hope the business, but like after seeing this episode, I'm like, I don't know if I wouldn't have reacted the same way she did. But we see them, they end up like talking to each other. They still kind of about each other, because Hope is still mad that Arthur was out with his mom till like 2 or 3 in the morning and didn't say anything to her. And she was like, I'm always gonna feel like you doing something you ain't got no business doing. And he was like, I wasn't doing anything. I was talking to my mama. And she was just like, I don't care if you was talking to Jesus. I said, Hope is giving you look crazy. But they laughed it off, and she was like, well, I think we should go do a little date thing today where I take you to the fabric store so you can make clothes. So we found out while Arthur was in prison, he used to make clothes for people. They were all white, but now he has a sewing machine, and she wants to take him to the fabric store so he can make his own garments with color. He even saw I didn't never know they call it chocolate chip camo, but he see this really nice pattern. He pulls it and he's like, oh, I'm gonna get this. And he seems like he's really enjoying himself, like he's in his element. And so while they're there, Hope gets a call from her sister on FaceTime, and she's trying to be like real discreet at the fact that she's with Arthur, because her family doesn't know that her and Arthur are still together, because they don't really like Arthur like that. They think she could do way better and doesn't need to be mixed up with somebody like Arthur. So we find out that she lives in Texas, but her other part of her family, like her two sisters and I guess her mom and dad or whatever, they live in Seattle. So she's on the phone with him, and then he tries to say something and she puts her hand up like, And he was like, and so she gets off the phone and he was like, who were you on the phone with? She was like, my sister. And he was like, you ain't want me to like talk to your sister? And she was like, no, because my sister, they don't really know that we together like that. So now Arthur feels some type of way, because he's like, why you trying to hide me? Like, you already didn't cheat on me once. Like, why are you trying to hide on me? So then we see them back at Hope's apartment, and he's helping put together this bookcase for her. I low-key think I got the same bookcase, just a little bit smaller. And while he's making the bookcase, he's like real quiet, and Hope is trying to be like, can you talk to me? Like, what's going on? And we find out that he found these old pictures of her with this guy that she kept, and she was like, well, I can throw them away, but they were just like pictures. And he's like, no, don't throw them away. But Arthur's like, because Hope cheated on me while I was in prison, I still kind of feel some type of way. And I'm like, sir, you should always, anybody that's in prison, you should understand that getting cheated on is a high possibility, especially if you're in there for like more than a year or two. You was in prison for like 6 or 7 years, bro, and y'all aren't married. I wouldn't be faithful. That's just me being honest. I let you know up front. If we gonna stay together, I'm letting you know I'm gonna be out in these streets until you get back. It is what it is. I'm not incarcerated with you. I don't believe in that whole, like, he locked up, I'm locked up too. Oh my God. I don't know if anybody has seen that viral TikTok of that girl who made like this nice meal. It's like mashed potatoes, asparagus, and salmon. And she was on FaceTime with her prison husband. And she was like, they were having a meal together. And she was like, eat your food. And I said, what mind state do you have to? I can't. So while they're sitting down, while Arthur is making the bookshelf, Hope is just like, you don't really, like, you can't keep holding your feelings in. Like, you're not speaking to me, and I want you to speak to me and, like, tell me how you're feeling. And Arthur explains that he's like, I hate to say it, but I'm institutionalized. He was like, I'm still kind of moving in robot mode. He was like, in prison, you have to be on guard 24/7, and you can't show any signs of weakness or anything like that, because they will attack you. So he's just like, I haven't come down from that yet. And she's like, oh, okay. And so Hope is just kind of like, I thought when Arthur got out, we would be able to like go on like life is normal. But she's like, I'm starting to realize that's not the case. He's a lot more quiet. He's not really trying to communicate to me about his feelings. And it feels like speaking to a brick wall, because I can tell that there's something wrong, but he's not saying anything. Next thing you know, Arthur is like, I need a minute. And he ends up leaving the apartment, and just like, he's in tears now, walking down the hallway. And he's just really like freaking out. So then the one of the producers comes to him, and they take him outside. He's talking about he's seeing demons. Like, some people don't look the same to him. Some people look like regular people, but some people look like demons. He's like, the like buildings are shifting. His hands were moving real chaotic-y. And he's like, I don't know. He said, Allah forgive me. He was just like, I don't know if like he was like, maybe I'm about to go to hell or something, like the devil's coming to collect because of all the bad things I did. And I said, yo. And The sad things about it is I saw a lot of people being like, Arthur should have just went with his mom. No, to me, Arthur should have paroled to a wellness center or to like inpatient rehabilitation, because I don't even think his mom would have been able to handle this, because the same energy that Hope was giving him, his mom was giving it to him too. Just constantly saying, I'm here, I love you. But he needed like a team around him. So we then end up seeing a whole bunch of the producers come out, maybe like 3 or 4 of them, and they're all explaining him to like breathe. Hope finally comes out. She's like, are you okay? But you can see he not there in his eyes. Like, he is totally having a dissociative episode. Like, he is not there right now. And he just keeps saying, I love you, Hope. I love you. But he's looking like he's not looking at her. He's looking like straight forward. And then when he looks at her, he not there. That would weird me. Like, I would be weirded out. I would not want him around me. Like, I was like, I'd have to love you from afar until you got your mental state together. Because I was like, clicking out like that would make me feel like you could do whatever to me, and then next thing you know, you come back to the I'm missing an arm, or I'm sprawled out with blood coming out of my body because you stabbed me because you wasn't there and you thought I was a demon, you know? And so Arthur is just like, I love you. So then she was like, you don't want to hug me? And like Hope is like picking up his arms to put on her shoulder, like to hug him, and he's like, stop. And I'm like, girl, don't touch that man. Back up. Like, back all the way up, sis. And so she begins to hug him because he starts crying even more. And you know it's serious because, like, normally we do not see the producers of Love After Lockup, but, like, they was out there. They end up calling his mom. His mom is like, I'm here for you. I love you. I'm here. It's going to be okay. Hope's holding the phone so he can listen. And then that's when Hope is like, bro, I thought we could live a normal life, but after this, she was like, I'm scared. Like, I don't know if I'm equipped for this. And I said, girl, you not. He needs to be in like intense therapy, because he ends up in the confessional crying being like, I definitely have PTSD. He was like, I seen a man's soul leave his body in front of an officer, which means somebody got unalived. And it's just like, that's a lot to deal with. A lot to deal with, bro. And like, Arthur does not need to be with Hope. He don't need to be around his family, because I really do feel like it probably would have been worse with his mom, because his mom is not very like warm and compassionate. She don't give that for real. I feel like if he would have exhibit this type of traits in front of her, they might have called the police or somebody to get him. But he definitely needs to be like in a facility where they can like help him like manage his PTSD, because like them eyes were dark, like he was not there, and that would have scared the ever loving you know what out of me. I'd have been like, yeah, I'm not well equipped for this. I was done. And while I was editing the video, I realized that I didn't talk about Julian and Christine. So we see Julian and Christine. They're in Maryland with, like, you know, Christine is happy to be with Julian. And we end up finding out that she, I guess, finally got like a probation officer or something like that. And they get the information that she has to report, but they don't give her like a time or a date. So she kind of got antsy and was like, well, Julian suggested, why don't we just go down there so you can check in now and get more information. So they get into the car. Now, again, whoever said that Christine was, you know, high as a kite and was still on that stuff when we first met met her, you were right, because she is not as fidgety. Again, I say she is not that fidgety in the confessional. Like, her mouth and jaw is not like doing all of this. Like, it has like a kind of a crick to it, but it's not as bad as that it was when she was on all of, it's not doing that anymore. So she must be down now. So they pull up to, I guess, where she has to check in to meet her probation officer or whatever. And she goes inside, takes her like 15 minutes. They give her like some number so she can now check in and be okay, because she's just like, I would hate to go back to jail for not checking in, because I guess the first time she was in prison, she got sent back due to a violation because she failed 2 drug tests. And she was just like, I don't want to go back. So as they're in the car, Julian is like, okay, this is great. Why don't we go get something to eat? So we actually see them like walking along like the boardwalk. And Julian basically tells Christine, girl, it's time for you to get a job. Like, Me paying for everything is bleeding me dry pretty much. And Christine has the audacity to have an attitude about it, because she was like, I feel like there was like some kind of communication issue, because when we were talking on the phone, you weren't giving me this type of energy that it was important for me to get a job. Girl, it is important for you to get a job. Like, he has his own kids, and I'm looking at Julian sideways, because I'm like, why are you giving this lady so much money if you are like, are you giving this money to your kids? That's what I want to know. Is the kids taken care of? Because they should be taken care of before Christine and them other kids she got that she don't even have custody of. Because we end up finding out that he has a lawyer in Ohio trying to help her get custody of her twins. And now Christine wants to get another lawyer to help fight for custody for her oldest son that's living with her mom in West Virginia. And I'm like, that's a lot of money, because then Julian explains that, like, to have a lawyer on retainer is pretty much like at the starting cost $5,000. And I'm like, do you even have $5,000? So then Christine talks about how, like, you know, I'm kind of taken aback by it, because, and it kind of annoys me, because when I met Julian and he was with his first wife, like his now ex-wife, they were always going on these European trips and these things. And now she's like comparing herself to him because she doesn't feel like she matches up. And I mean, honestly, you don't, because you don't have the money. And it doesn't seem like you also have like the attitude for it. Because I'm just like, she's like, well, you know how hard it is to get a job? Girl, you shouldn't have went to jail. You shouldn't, like, I'm just like, you have a lot of excuses, Christine. And I was trying to give you the benefit of the doubt with the whole mama thing, but I'm starting to feel like you make a lot of excuses for yourself. Like, this man is paying for all this stuff, and he's not even telling you to get like a hardcore job. He was like, it could even be a part-time job. Girl, I know it's a bunch of felons working at Walmart. You know, I don't know about Target, but you could probably, like Walmart or like a gas station, like you could probably stock things. Like, there's ways in which you could get money. So this whole like, as like, you could even work at an animal shelter or like a pet hotel. Like, you can get a cute little job. And she's just kind of like, you know, it's a lot of pressure. Okay, it's a lot of pressure you're putting on him, so to take care of you, your kids, and help you get custody, and he has to take care of his kids. Like, girl, I don't care, Christine. I don't care. Get a job. It's not that hard for you to get a part-time job. It's not. Like, I know the economy sucks ass right about now, but it's just kind of like, you could do things to help instead of like complaining. All right, y'all. So that is it. That is all. As always, remember to be bravely authentic, and definitely drop down in the comments below and share your thoughts with me about these couples that we discussed. And I'm out, y'all. Deuces.